Do you want to experience maximum success when it comes to trout trolling? If you do, integrate trolling flies into your arsenal. Go on over to fishhuntshoot.com and pick up one of Kel Kellogg's signature series trolling fly kits today, and you'll be yelling fish on tomorrow. There we go. There's a fish. Oh yeah, nice fish. Whoa. Came to life in a boat. We'll get him back in the water. That's a nice fish. Look at that beauty. Orange trolling fly, you can't beat it. That was a trolling fly at like 2 feet. Howdy guys, Kel Kellogg here. I have a viewer question from Gerald up in Redding, California. And I actually hope to answer this out on the water, and I've made 2 attempts at it. I was out at Jenkinson Reservoir. I totally filmed this, and I didn't have audio. And then this morning I went up to Sugar Pine Reservoir, and the ramp was covered with ice, so I'm back here in my backyard studio because I couldn't launch my kayak. So I'm not really sure you're a lucky charm there, Gerald. I'm just poking a little fun at you. Gerald's question was, he was a paddle kayaker. He was a bank guy. Then he got a paddle kayak. Then he got a pedal kayak. And he sees me out trolling a lot, and he noticed that I spend a lot of time toplining, or as he called it, flatlining for trout, and he just wanted more information. He wanted me to basically give an overview of what my rig is like, my thoughts on it, all that kind of stuff. So here we go, Gerald. I hope this is informative to everybody out there watching this. Toplining for trout is very temperature contingent. And here's my philosophy. I've said this on the channel a bunch of times. If I have water, and we're talking rainbow trout here, if I have water that is 65 degrees or less on the surface, I'm very confident that there are going to be trout up on top, up near the surface at some point during the day. Now, 56 degrees, that's the optimum comfortable temperature for rainbow trout and, you know, several other fish species, but we're focused on rainbows here. So the closer the water temperature is to 56, the better I like it, because the better the trout like it. But having said that, if you have water that's 65 on top or less, you're going to have trout up near the surface at some point during the day. Now, when are the best times to topline or flatline for trout? Well, low light periods, early and late, overcast days, or any time that you have chop on the water. And one of the reasons I like toplining so much is if you think about rainbow trout, they are stream fish. They're all steelhead, you know, at heart in their genetic code, and stream fish, they think that danger comes from above them, but they also look up to feed. Rainbows are very turned on to feeding up. So they're looking for items that they want to eat above their head. Now, the low light period gives them confidence that nothing's going to reach in from above them and grab them. Okay, so they feel safer then. And whenever you have chop on top of the water, that also makes them feel safer. So they're more likely to move up to the surface. They just know that bad stuff is up there waiting to get them. Bears, eagles, so on and so forth. But, you know, that's balanced out by their desire to feed upward. So anytime the surface temperature is compatible for them, you could pretty much bet that if you run a lure underneath the surface, rainbow trout are going to take notice of it, and if they feel comfortable enough, they're going to shoot up there and they're going to grab it, and you're going to have a fish on the end of your line. So let's talk about the tackle that I use first, and then we'll talk about some lures and some basic, you know, technique. This is one of my downrigger / toplining rods. It's a conventional rod. I use these for toplining, and I also use a spinning rod a good deal. I like to use a spinning rod a lot in the kayak because often I'll be running one rod deeper, whether it's on my downrigger or more likely, it's on my lead core rod. I'll get that rod out and working, and then I can just take that spinning rod, flip it out over there. I know I'm not going to tangle the other line. I'll let out a little more line until I got, adequate length of line out. I'll close the bail, put it in the holder, and that lure is just going to swing right into the spread, and those lines are going to work side by side. Nothing bad's going to happen. I'm not going to get a tangle. So often you'll see me using a spinning rod, but I also use my conventional setups just like this. Everything is rigged up the same way. Let's start off here with the swivel. And if you watch the channel a lot, Gerald, you've seen this, but I'm going to review for all the folks out there. Now I got this good and tangled here, of course, because I'm always tangled. There we go. Okay, so this is my main line right here. This is 10-pound test mono. I bring it down to a bead, and this could be 12, it could be 8. I don't really like to go below 8 when I'm trolling, but 10's a good bet for this type of thing. So I spool up most often with 10 for my main line. I bring the line through a bead. That is simply so I can see where the swivel is, because low light conditions, I don't want to reel that swivel up into the eye of my rod. Bad things can happen. So that bead helps me to see where that swivel is. It can also collect weeds and stuff and keep them from running down to the lure. But the main application of that bead is to let me know where the swivel is. I have one of those bead chain trolling swivels there to limit line twist, and there is a cross lock snap on the end of that. And then to that, I snap on my leader, and here's what my leader looks like. It is anywhere, I'm going to kind of lean this up. I'm going to lean this up on my tripod. I know I'm out of the frame. This is bad television, but do what we can. I'm back. So my leader, there's that swivel. My leader's about 40 inches long. It is tipped with a cross-lock snap, not a snap swivel, just a snap. And in this case, I have one of my trigger spoon magnums on the end of it. In terms of lures, typically, when you're top lining, at least for me, with the exception of a mag lip, I'm not running lures that really dive, okay? I want a lure that's going to run pretty much in a level line. Might be running a trigger spoon. You could be running a Castmaster. I might be running one of my mini trigger spoons, or even something like this. Everybody has these in their tackle box. I'll be back. Gosh darn it. Everybody has these in their tackle box. Here is a small floating Rapala. So basically, I'm looking to troll something near the surface that doesn't dive very much. I also love to top line with flies. So spoons, small plugs, flies, grubs, all that stuff is going to work for top lining. Now, the question I always get about top lining is, how far back do I want to have the lure working behind the boat? And let's start with boats. Rule of thumb for boats, if you're fishing from a power boat, you want that lure back there 100, 125 feet, something like that. If you think the fish are really spooky, maybe you go 150 feet. Maybe you go all the way to 200 feet. That's a long way. But basically, 100 feet is a good starting point. Now, out of your kayak, you can work way shorter than that. I would say 50 is probably the minimum, and that's probably too much, but 50 is a good place to start. I noticed that I spend a lot of time top lining anywhere from 50 to 75 feet back. The biggest, as I recall, the biggest trout I've caught, the biggest wild rainbow I've caught, I caught on Elminor a few years ago. I got it on a trolling fly, and I believe that fish was 75, it was either 65 or 75 feet back. So less than 100 feet behind the kayak. That's kind of my rule of thumb on the distance that I have the lure back. Final thought. There are some lures, like this Trigger Spoon Magnum or the Rapala. Put that back there, no problem, no additional weight, and it's going to work just fine. If I put this back 75 feet with no additional weight, this thing's going to be working anywhere from 18 inches to 2 feet deep. Just about perfect, man. If I got some chop on the water, it's going to be swimming right under that chop, and fish are going to look up, see it. Looks like a substantial meal, hopefully. Fish on. Now, if I'm trolling something like a fly, that it really has no weight to it. If I just top line that with no weight, it may or may not get down, and it may not get down very far if it gets down at all, and it just may not run properly. So in those situations, it makes sense to add a little bit of weight, just enough weight to kind of get it down. Now, there's a lot of ways you can add weight to a rig like this and still, be top lining. Kind of for me, I define top lining as anything in the top 10 feet of the water column where I'm not using lead core, I'm not using a downrigger, it's just back there doing its thing. So I'll say that's from anywhere from 0 to 10 feet is where I'm top lining. Now, you can add weight here a number of different ways. You could put on a bullet weight before you tie on your swivel, and that would be on the line, that would pull it down. That's cool, but if you want to change it, you have to cut everything off. Okay, so that's kind of a bummer. You could add split shot. Sometimes I do that. But the thing you got to know with split shot is, one, you're going to have to remove it at some point probably. And I'm always worried. I'm a little paranoid. I own that. I'm a little paranoid. I worry that that's going to nick my line and it's going to cost me a big fish. So I came up with this. It's a really simple way to add weight. And I keep a few of these in my tackle box. I just tie them up. And you could do the same thing. All you just need a pack of snap swivels, some heavy line. In this case, that's 20 pound fluorocarbon there. And you see, I got a little egg sinker on there. I would make these up in, say, 1/8 ounce, 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce, maybe 3/4 of an ounce. Just keep these in your tackle box. And here's what you want to do. I'll let this go here. You just want to insert this between the leader and that trolling swivel. So let me open this up here. Bear with me here. I'm opening up these snaps. So I'm going to snap that right there. Just snap that together, just like that. And then on the other end of that, I'm going to snap my leader on there. Just like, well, if I wasn't old and blind, I would have got it the first time. But I got it, nevertheless. So right there. So I think this is a 1/4 ounce egg sinker. So as you can see there, no fuss, no muss, no struggle. Well, a little struggle because I'm old and blind. I added a 1/4 ounce of weight to my rig. Now, if I want to add more, I just snap that out and go with that. If I want to put maybe a Rapala on that's going to dive a little bit, maybe I don't need that on there anymore, I just take it out, I put it back in my tackle box. The reason I tie it with 20-pound test is I want it to last for a while. It's fluorocarbon line, so the fish aren't going to see it. Plus, they got all this hardware around it. They don't worry about that, honestly. It just doesn't seem to put them off at all. But anyway, I would make up a few of those in different weights, keep them in the tackle box. That way it's easy to add or subtract weight when you want to top line. And that's pretty much the size of it. Sometimes I'll top line with a Dodger, not very often. Usually it's a naked lure, just something I want them to see a nice strong silhouette of something above their head that they want to feed on. They're going to run up there and grab it. And I'll do that, at any time during the day if I got chop. But, certainly early and late in the day, if I have overcast. Now remember, chop makes the fish feel safe, but rainbows are also attracted to current. And what we see as chop on the surface, a little bit of white cap action, that's just a visual manifestation of current. Those fish will pull up right underneath that chop. They feel safe. There's a little current there. There's more oxygen there, and it just makes them feel their oats, man. So that is a great way to go. I catch a lot of fish top lining. I top line a lot. So, Wes, my partner, he prefers to troll a little bit deeper than me. So everybody's kind of got their own style. But that for me, that's top lining in a thumbnail sketch there, Gerald. I hope that helps you out. Hope it helps everybody out here on the channel. I will say this. I'm just kind of going off the top of my head. Many of the biggest trout that I've caught over the last, say, 2 years came in the top 10 feet of the water column. One thing you can say about trout that are up top, if you mark a fish down at 40 feet, maybe it's feeding, maybe it's not. You're marking a trout up, or you're encountering a trout, you can't often mark them up in the top 10 feet, but if you encounter a trout that's up in the top 10 feet of the water column, very often those fish are on the hunt. They're looking to feed, and you have a pretty good chance of triggering a strike from those fish if they're up there in that top end of the water column. Anyway, I've rambled on and on and on and on and on here. I am signing off for now. If you are looking for gear, go on over to fishhuntshoot.com. untitled.com. You'll find everything you need, including triggers, spoons, and rods, and all that stuff and more. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I wish you the best of luck out on the water, Gerald. I'll bet you're going to be out there at Whiskeytown and Shasta because you live up there in Redding. There's a lot of other great fisheries up there too. Anyway, good luck. Stay safe. Wear the life jacket. That's a must when you're in the kayak or any kind of small craft. And I will catch you here next time on YouTube. I'm Kel Kellogg, and you guys have a great day.